and I thought the episode of The Flash was good. This week's episode of Arrow, which is also the mid-season finale for the show, was even better, I thought. Now, I don't mean to insult the Flash TV show, but I like the Arrow TV show better. Maybe it's just because it has more similarities to Batman, I don't know. But I think each TV show services its character fairly well. But with that said, this episode of The Arrow kind of followed the same pattern as this week's episode of The Flash in that it was very heavy on drama and really, it was almost like a season finale is what it was, because we finally learned who killed Sarah. We get some real advancement on that front, and when we learn who it is, it opens up all sorts of new conflicts. We finally get some clarity as to Malcolm's true agenda. We finally get a real good look at Ra's al Ghul. Or I really should just call him Ra's al Ghul. I know it's Ra's al Ghul, but this show and Batman Begins call him Ra's al Ghul, so I don't know, maybe there will be some differentiation. Maybe if I'm talking about the comics and the animated series, I'll call him Ra's. Not the point. Ra's al Ghul, we finally got a good look at Matt Nable as Ra's al Ghul after the cameo that he had a few episodes back. And Oliver, through a bunch of circumstances that I am not going to spoil, Oliver ends up in a duel with Ra's al Ghul, which ends very dramatically. I really liked how that ended. I really liked how they left us off. This is how you leave us off for the winter. This is how you do a cliffhanger right here. I'm actually surprised at how much I liked this cliffhanger when normally I don't subscribe to that form of sequel begging. So, yeah, first of all, I'm really warming up to Matt Nable as Ra's al Ghul. Again, I think when I first saw him on screen, I said, okay, he's played by some guy who's not Liam Neeson. And while I do like Liam Neeson better, this kind of goes back to me liking C. Thomas Howell better as the Reverse Flash, in that you have to afford some, I don't want to say grade on a curve, but you have to afford some consideration to the fact that this is a TV show, and Liam Neeson and C. Thomas Howell played the characters in movies. So there are several different rules you have to abide by, especially when it comes to comic book adaptations. There are certain things you can get away with in a movie and a TV show that you couldn't necessarily get away with on a movie or a TV show. Not really making a whole lot of sense, but one medium does not necessarily translate perfectly to another medium, is what I'm saying. And likewise, I think this version of Ra's al Ghul works for TV. Because honestly, the more I think about it, if Liam Neeson were to come on this show, he would just steal every scene he was in from all the rest of the people. He just has, I don't really know how to describe it, but he just has way too much presence for a TV show, especially one with a bunch of TV stars in it. Because when you look at a bunch of actors in this TV show, in these television shows, a lot of them do sort of scream TV actor. Stephen Amell is by no means a movie actor. David Ramsey, I don't really think could carry his own movie. Again, nothing against his acting ability, but again, some people just have that presence. Tom Selleck, for instance, never really became a big-time movie star. But on TV, wow. On TV, he just excels. He has a heck of a presence on TV, but again, I digress. This episode in particular, very good drama. I really liked how they revealed who killed Sarah. I really liked how they tied that in with Malcolm and his true agenda. Really, really good storytelling there, while at the same time, when all the cards are finally laid out on the table, and when Oliver finally decides what to do, we had some really good character moments of, this might be it. Not really a whole lot is said. Not really a whole lot is said in the way of, I might not be coming back. But again, not really a whole lot needs to be said if the performances are good enough. And the performances by Stephen Amell, Emily Bett Rickards, David Ramsey, Colton Haynes, really conveyed all the emotion that was needed without really saying a whole lot. I mean, yeah, this episode did have a lot of dialogue in it, like any episode does, but again, it did not go overboard in trying to explain what the characters were feeling. They showed what the characters were feeling via the actors' performances. So yeah, the emotion was very heavy in this episode. And towards the end, I know I'm kind of going on. I know I'm kind of skipping ahead a little bit, but the actual fight between Oliver and Raish, on top of being really well filmed, aside from the fact that if two guys really took their shirt off at the top of this mountain, they would probably freeze to death. But again, I guess certain things you just have to accept in the comic book world. Oliver gets his ass kicked. I mean, the whole episode he's talking about how you know, I wouldn't be doing this if I didn't think I could win. And other characters even were saying, you probably can win, but you have to kill him. You have to do this. Every character was taking for granted that he could win. And when he actually gets to fight Ra's al Ghul, he gets beat with his opponent using one hand. I mean, it really was a one-sided fight. And at the end, Ra's even says, you know, you should take pride. You've survived longer than a lot of people who have taken this challenge. And he stabs him through the gut and kicks him off the mountain. And I'm like, okay, that was awesome. Not just because of my desire for violence on TV, not just because I'm just really sick, but all the drama, all of the build-up that we had in the entire episode up to that point, and it just culminates in this. I suppose you could call it a twist ending, because we never really got any indication that Oliver could lose. We never really factored that in. So I guess you could call it a twist in that some people might not see it coming, especially given how capable Oliver has been in combat up to this point. He hasn't really lost to a whole lot of people, except for Slade and Malcolm. But the fact that Ra's just beats him effortlessly without breaking a sweat, he just kicks his ass. He kicks his ass without ever trying. With one arm. So that'll pose an interesting physical threat. And even Matt Nable's performance, how he's very calm, he's very collected. Even when he is fighting Oliver, he is very, I don't want to say posh, but very polite. He's very chivalrous. You really get the sense that this is a very collected guy, and I think that's why I'm really warming up to him as Ra's al Ghul. He doesn't really have a whole lot of intensity, or at least not at this point, but again, you get the sense that this guy really plays a lot of his cards close to the chest. He doesn't reveal much of his hand right away. So again, I'm really warming up to him in terms of performance, and in terms of a physical threat, I really like how they established him. And with that cliffhanger, even though we know Oliver Queen is not dead, you cannot kill off the main character of a show like this when they have all sorts of plans for these comic book TV shows in the future. So yeah, we know he's not dead. But the way they left that off, the very desperate situation that they left him in, really well done. And yeah, really, if I had a problem with this episode, it was Laurel and Thea. Again, these are terribly written characters in my opinion. They're completely selfish. They are hypocritical. Thea is really proves herself a hypocrite multiple times in this episode about like, oh, don't make me choose between my father and my brother. Oh, you lied to me, blah, blah, blah. And she lies through her teeth multiple times. And Laurel doing the same self-righteous BS about like, oh, Dad can never know that Sarah's dead, blah, blah, blah. Oh, he just can't take it. Like, that's your secret to keep. So, again, really not liking those two characters. In fact, if it were up to me, I would just hand Thea over to Ra's al Ghul, let him deal with it. Because I tell you what, Ra's al Ghul is the bad guy. And Malcolm is reinforced as a bad guy in this episode they are both still infinitely more likable than Laurel and Thea, in my opinion. And I know I'm not the only one. I've talked to other people who have said, yeah, I really don't like them either. They are just complete. I hate them. They just need to go away. Which they do. Those two characters need to go away. I mean, I know they're not going to send Laurel away because she hasn't become the Black Canary yet. But Thea, they have an excuse to kill Thea now, so hey, that might be some good news. Again, I don't mean to sound morbid, but without fixating too much on any particular aspect, this episode was very accomplished. The drama was good. The pace, I thought it was very well paced. A lot of the characters were well utilized. Really, the only thing that I felt was out of place was Felicity and Ray Palmer. Again, I like Ray Palmer. I like his character. I like the way Brandon Routh plays him. I like how they're taking their time introducing him as the Atom. Again, doing what these shows do best in that they are introducing these characters as people first before actually putting them in costume. But the whole thing with Felicity and Ray in this episode, even though it was well done, I think it was a little out of place in the midst of all of this death and family drama and the League of Assassins stuff. So yeah, aside from a few flaws, this was definitely a very strong episode, a very strong mid-season finale. Definitely one of the better episodes this season, and it has me pumped for when they come back in January. So, well done.